News Radio 710 Keel is your news and weather station.
Dr. Bill, how are you this morning?
I am great, Robert. How are you, buddy?
Well, there's lots and lots, tons to talk about. Let us start with Friday's Supreme Court decision regarding gay marriage. I read, and I know you have lots to say on that, I read an article this weekend that was written by a Midwestern minister, and basically what he said was, in fact, this is sort of a quote, he said, more and more and more Christians are becoming, to use his words, exiles in their own nation. What do you think about that? What are your thoughts?
My pastor said this past Sunday that we as Christians first reach out to all in love, that we have to wait and see the implications of this particular court decision, and that we will continue to extend love to others. Now, first I will say, they know we are Christians by our love. That said, for the state to begin to dictate morality, our doctrine, is incredibly problematic, and it is going to lead to lawsuits and persecution of bakers who are 65 years old and wish to live their religious beliefs, and the long arm of the state will go in and destroy their business as a lesson to others. So I think to an extent his concerns are going to be perceived by many as valid.
Conservative legal scholars looking at the court's decision have said that basically what they've said that is that the Supreme Court has leapfrogged the legislative process and on their own created a new protected class. Do you agree with that?
Of course it's true. And it's a little bit disappointing. First, John Roberts' decision. I wish he had the same thoughts on the Obamacare decision.
And we'll get to that in just a second.
But his dissent spoke out that this is not a constitutional issue. It's just not. This is something that by our Bill of Rights is relegated to the states to decide. But states, 37 of them, have made some accommodation for gay marriage. So it's actually something that has been working its way through the body politic in a way which was by a democratic process being resolved. And people were becoming reconciled or feeling like their voice was heard. Now it's done by judicial fiat. Our history shows on other issues that's not the way one should be done constitutionally, or two, the best way for the decision to be absorbed by the body politic.
Speaking, oh my goodness, of judicial fiat, let's jump now. What is it? King versus Burwell, I think, is the Obamacare case. And you, as a physician, what are your thoughts on that, where it has, by the Supreme Court, Obamacare has been upheld once again?
Yeah, the decision clearly was one of expediency and of fearfulness. We are fearful that we're going to overturn something which will then cause problems in society. So not based upon a plain reading of the law, but based upon our fear and our timidity, we're going to rule this way.
See, that's exactly, pardon me, that's what I was thinking was that the Supreme Court, specifically Chief Justice Roberts, is saying we are so immersed in a give everybody everything for free society that we can't dare upset that apple cart.
And I sure wish he had read portions of his decision on gay marriage when he was writing that decision, in which he kind of counseled for true judicial restraint and guidance by the law, as opposed to, yes, a plain reading of the law says this, but because we're a little fearful and timid, we're going the other way. That gives me no confidence in the court.
Now,
it is a total crapshoot as to if something goes to the court, it's not going to necessarily be plain reading of the law.
Speaking of Senator Bill Cassidy, a total crapshoot, we are waiting, I think, on a Supreme Court decision, something that could immediately, affect people right here in Louisiana, businesses, jobs, etc. And that's the ozone, the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency ozone mandates that are being challenged.
Yeah. Right now, our energy policy is not being set by Congress or the Department of Energy. It's by the EPA. And EPA is established as going after carbon however it can. So ozone, it hopes to go after ozone, and by limiting ozone, limits carbon emissions. Unfortunately, there's going to be tens of thousands of jobs that move to India or China or Mexico if they get their way, because basically 90% of industrialized United States will be out of compliance, and the only way to become compliant is to shut down manufacturing plants that use a lot of energy. EPA is totally, we don't care. But if you're a working family trying to put bread on the table, you better care.
The Obama administration's ability to damage its own nation seems unlimited. What legislatively can be done to mitigate anything that's done by the Supreme Court?
On the appropriations process, Republicans will put something in the appropriations bill that says the EPA shall not use money to enforce this regulation. Every now and then people fuss at me for voting for appropriations bills. I point out the only way we've been able to limit Obamacare or EPA is by cutting off the money for certain activities. And so whatever other problems there are with these bills, at least it allows us to deprive EPA of its ability to destroy working families' jobs. And that's a pretty good trade for me.
Senator Bill Cassidy, we appreciate your time this morning, your thoughts on Obamacare and the Supreme Court decisions on gay marriage, homosexual unions, and the EPA mandates that, like I said, continue to hurt folks right here at home. We appreciate your time as always, and you are always welcome, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.